Okay, hi everybody. Today I would like to introduce you to a religion of reason, a religion for rational people. Now, this does not mean science, does not mean scientific materialism. It's going to be something that you've never really encountered before. So, of course, a religion is a really big thing, and it has a lot of facets, and generally a lot of things that you can go into. So, I'm just going to give you sort of a basic introduction here, and just a basic outline of what the plan going forward is. Yeah, okay. So, this religion, I'm going to introduce you to the idea of classical Illuminism, right? So what is Illuminism and what is it classically? It's the Pythagorean religion of reason, the Pythagorean religion based on mathematics. And in fact, you can discover quite a few fundamental truths about the nature of reality when you study the philosophy of mathematics, because of course mathematics, as it has been proven, is based or is the foundation of reality. I assume that you've watched my previous series on ontological mathematics. And so mathematics is in fact the basis of all existence. So what could be more religious than understanding the philosophy of mathematics? Where religion is dealing with the fundamental nature of reality, whether you have a soul, what your mind is, what consciousness is, why reality is the way that it is, why the universe exists, and what we're supposed to be doing here. So if mathematics is the basis of all these things, and it is, then shouldn't the most religious thing, in fact, be to understand mathematics at that sort of philosophical, religious, spiritual level? Yeah? Okay. So I'll shrink myself again. So classical Illuminism, the Pythagorean religion of reason. So first thing, let's cover who can join. Okay. So Pythagorean Illuminism is for humanity's exemplars of reason. Now, typically the personality type, I should have wrote this down here, so you could see it. The personality type it's most going to appeal to is the INTJ personality type. Intuitive, introverted, yeah, introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging. Personality type on the Myers-Briggs scale, right? So that's mainly going to be who would want to join and who would feel home here. And we certainly do want to make a home for people. Generally, these are the people with high IQ. So these are people that are going to have an IQ probably 130 or more, generally. And you're generally an independent thinker, not that you're, all about being totally independent and just want to think independent things. You're an independent thinker naturally because the world has made you this way, sort of, with your high intelligence. What is that? You've seen through it a lot of the BS of the planet, and so you're an independent thinker in the sense that you've saw through a lot of the BS of the planet. And what you're actually waiting for and ready for is something to make sense of it all, and we can actually do that now. Of course, I'm assuming that you have some familiarity with ontological mathematics and Mike Hockney and the God series books and all of the associated authors. If not, we have a lot of religious sort of text, but it's not religious text like you would think of traditionally in terms of, you have to be a worshiper and you have to be a servant and all these sort of things. It's religious in the true sense of the term, in the true sense of what is spiritual, which is what I was just discussing a few minutes ago. What is the true thing that is religious and spiritual? Well, it's comprehending God, isn't it? Right? And we can do that through ontological mathematics. Comprehending that God is actually this system of mathematics that we are ourselves making up and part of as a node of this existence, right? Existence does not reduce to such a simple of thing as master and slave, worshiper and the worshipee, things like that. Yeah, so people who have read and are fans of Mike Hockney and related authors who wish to support it, people who accept ontological mathematics and the principle of sufficient reason, right? Okay, so Pythagorean Illuminism, this religion of reason, is not open to all. As I said, it's mostly only for INTJ personality types and who would, aspire to that sort of personality type or recognize the value of it. So it is not all accepting, and it is certainly not all tolerant. And neither do we assume that it is for everybody or should be made so for everybody. And that we don't feel like we should, go out and proselytize and force everybody to want to be the way we are. Not at all. Why would you do that to people? Let's be with each other. Isn't that Wouldn't that make a much happier state of mind for us? Yes, it would indeed. Yes. So what are we called? Well, we can call ourselves Illuminists, Pythagoreans, Illuminati, ontological mathematicians. Obviously, that word Illuminists, I mean, God, I just did a Facebook search and it's just so absurd, the amount of stuff that comes up. And it's all just so ridiculous and disheartening. And then it almost put me off making this video at all and just abandoning this. It's all just so absurd. In any case, we would be the actual true classical Illuminists, what it's all actually founded on. It's actually founded on Pythagoras, on the Pythagorean religion of mathematics and of reason. Yes? So, I mean, these names could change in the future, but for now, the leaders of our religion are called mathematikoi, and these are people who have demonstrated some sort of practical proficiency in the understanding of ontological mathematics. Followers, and that's very few people indeed, followers are called acousmatikoi, and those are lay and expert people on theory. And we're going to have to do something else about one other group of people. And this is the only thing I can think of doing with them for now. So we're going to have quote-unquote patron saints. And the patron saints are going to have to be the anonymous authors of all of the books, and of course the historical philosopher founders. Okay, so what is our symbol? Well, our symbol should be simple so that children and people can, doodle it, draw it on paper and margins, or you can draw it in the sand if you're at the beach or whatever. It should contain hidden meanings for those who understand it. That would be good too. It's simple, anyone can draw it, but it contains a lot of meaning. It contains obvious meaning and it contains other not so obvious meaning, right? So what's the best symbol for that? Can you think of it? What is a symbol? What would be the symbol? What did I spend a lot of time on in my previous videos on ontological mathematics? I spent a lot of time on this concept of the monad, or the circling, right? So that is the symbol of our religion, okay? So represents a lot of things, just basically. It can represent Apollo's round shield with a boss in the middle, right? So Apollo is the god of reason, right? So Apollo is obviously one of our main, sort of patron gods, so to speak, right? The god of reason, Apollo. It's also the symbol of the sun. We use that in astronomy and astrophysics for the symbol of the sun. It's also used in astrology for the symbol of the sun. The sun, incidentally, has an associated number, which is an interesting number, and that same number comes up actually in the biosphere. In the wave number of carbon dioxide is actually connected to this number. Really interestingly, amazing, one of those interesting coincidences that the sun has always been thought of having this number, but then carbon dioxide has this number as well, and the sun and carbon dioxide are both the creators of life, and they both share this number. It's really neat. I won't say the number. You must know what it is. Of course, as we've discussed, it's the symbol of base existence. It's base energy, base thought. It's Euler's formula. It is the symbol of immortality and indestructibility because it's the monad, the self-existent energy, which has never been created and can therefore never be destroyed. So it is infinitely powerful in a sense, right? It's infinitely immortal, infinitely indestructible. It's infinite power in a sense, yeah? It's a really powerful symbol. Having a little bit of fun here for Dionysus, but in an Apollonian way, which is maybe a little boring. It's a symbol of sex, therefore representing life, striving, and merit. If you don't see how it's a symbol of sex, just imagine that little point expanding to fill the volume here. Or perhaps she should really work on that diameter. That's a bit lewd. Don't know what she's been doing. So yes, obviously sex, in the proper sense of the term on Earth, in the animal kingdom and whatnot, represents life, striving, merit, struggle, survival, right? Those are all positive, life-affirming things, right? So what is our referent? So we are guided by two referents, one for the mental domain and one for the material domain. So the mental domain referent, you would all know this by now, the principle of sufficient reason. And we really appreciate Pythagoras' motto, number is all. Ontological mathematics, right? So ontological mathematics is our referent for abstract thinking, for what we would do all sort of science and mathematical research and scientific research in the future. I read a really great quote the other day with someone who said, I forget what he all said, but the most important part I took away was he made the point that science, modern science, has no referent, and therefore it's totally incoherent. And I thought, wow, that is, what a brilliant summary. That, and this person, it was just randomly somewhere. He's not an ontological mathematician or anything, or a philosopher, but he just made the point that science has no referent and therefore is totally incoherent. And it is, right? I mean, look at what it's doing with climate science, for example, vilifying the life-creating molecule carbon dioxide as some sort of pollutant, saying that boys can be girls now, and et cetera, all this stuff. Science is totally, look at the interpretations of quantum mechanics and whatnot. Science is just totally incoherent with respect to itself. Totally incoherent. On the other hand, we are going to have a referent. We are going to have the ultimate referent. That referent being the principle of sufficient reason, which is reason itself, right? Ontological mathematics. That's our referent. That is our base. That is what provides our mental and spiritual grounding in all things. Yes? On the other hand, there's one other domain that we live in, however, the empirical domain, the material domain. So what is our referent in the material domain? Our referent in the material domain is Gaia and her order of life. And so what does Gaia tell us? What does the order of life on this planet that we live on tell us? Now, I'm not saying, we got to reduce to the law of the jungle. No. Obviously, we're going to sublimate the horrific things, right? But Gaia, nevertheless, does provide us a direction and tell us which way to go and how we should structure our thought and existence and our behavior, right? And so what is that? Merit, fitness, performance, good form, power, supremacy, high intelligence, achievement, right? This is what Gaia demands. This is what all of Gaia's females all over the whole planet demand. There's no female form on this planet that accepts the degenerate, the weak, right? Even herbivores compete and fight each other and sometimes kill each other. The male herbivores, certainly the carnivores were aware to do that. Wolves, for example, will fight for supremacy alpha position so that they can mate and have the family. Well, herbivores do the same thing, obviously. They fight and mate, and the females select the most powerful, right? And the most fit and the strongest to reproduce with. So we let Gaia be our guide in the material domain, and that will structure what kind of society we want to live in and promote within and amongst each other. Yeah. So can you join? So for example, if you are thinking of joining, but you have the question, I am an XYZ, whatever it is, that you identify with, right? Or as. Is your religion open to people like me? Now, I'm sure this is a very important question to some of you. Yes? So I am an XYZ. Is a religion open to people like me? Because, don't you want to be accepted? Don't you want to be accepted and to feel good and to feel like people like you and whatnot? Well, here's the answer. Probably not. In fact, the answer is probably just no. Okay? No, you can't fucking join. All right? The very question indicates that you wish to impose your identity over the religion. And you want to have the religion serve you in justifying your, and let's face it, in today's day and age, your probable mental health problem. Okay? So go to a psychiatrist, go do whatever you need to do, start working out, exercising, eating raw fruits and vegetables and healthy, red meat, cooked rare, right? And fucking get your shit together. Okay? We're not here to fucking justify your mental health problem, whatever degeneracy it is that you value as the point in your particular life, right? If you need acceptance for whatever your problem is, go to a Christian church. They usually accept anybody. They don't care. And they can be a lot of fun. I'm not disparaging Christian churches. They can be really nice. People are nice, accepting. They'll bring you food, have picnics, all sorts of stuff like that. It's a really fun time. Can be quite nice. You don't have to hate it. Yeah, the reason why you hate it is because maybe sometimes they expect a standard out of you, right? That's why you hate it. Yeah, well, we expect a standard as well. We in fact expect a much, much, much higher standard, right? Way higher standard, right? So no, you're probably not going to be able to fit in with our group if you have some freaking problem that you want us to accept, okay? So fuck off. Okay, so we welcome working class families and normal, healthy people doing, mostly normal things, but who have intellectually and spiritually exceeded the normality of the currently prevailing culture, right? So you've seen through the bullshit of modern science, you've seen through the bullshit of most modern, basically all modern religions, you've seen through the bullshit of our political systems and our education systems and our healthcare systems, and you basically have become aware that it's all bullshit. And there needs to be a new sort of referent. You need a new referent in your life. So we can provide a new referent in your life that's based on, it's going to make your life, well, I mean, I can't say that it's going to make your life wonderful right away, but it is at least going to provide you a referent. That in itself can be such a help in life, right? Just having a referent that you can trust, right? A referent that you can really trust. We can give you something that you can certainly trust fully and infinitely, right? Through ontological mathematics, the principle of sufficient reason, the knowledge of the immortality of your soul and of your mind, and what's true. We can certainly tell you, like for example, with the climate change stuff, we can certainly tell you what's true and not true. With that, we can tell you what's gone wrong with our politics, why everything seems to not be working. You know, we can tell you who's behind it all and what our planet is facing and what the threat actually is. All that sort of stuff. We have those answers now. Yeah. Okay, so vision for our future. So I mean, some of this is kind of long term, maybe some is pie in the sky, but this is what I would envision, yeah? So many tasks with varying scales of immediacy. So for example, to live together in a community like Castalia from the Gilgas bead game, where you had all these wonderful, intelligent people living together with a very high culture, right, with a capital city. So you have a sort of campus in the middle, maybe for learning, for studies, a citadel kind of thing. You would be self-sufficient. You know, we wouldn't want to depend on slaves or, you know, much outside trade, because self-sufficient as possible. Yeah. Have a shared culture, shared land area. You know, eventually we would have a sort of planetary scale society, you know, like Star Wars, Star Trek, certainly with ontological mathematics developed. Technologically, we're going to have fantastic new technologies, which certainly we're not going to want to share with a lot of people for the potential for abuse that they could cause. So in any case, we want a very high culture, very high standards, right? One thing that's important to do is we need to condense and summarize ontological mathematics. And for example, the God series books, each book of the God series books should be condensed into some sort of pamphlet. You know, and I've kind of done that. I've done that with a few of the really main topics, you know, Gödel's incompleteness theorems, the meaning of Plato's cave, Zeno's paradox, what does it mean? So I've done that in my videos and in my books. You know, reducing things to the concept of the circling, why does something exist rather than nothing? You know, we really should start condensing this and make this, for example, into some sort of curriculum, yeah? Starting with children, right? Something that we can teach children and structure a whole new sort of trivium and quadrivium, you know, like the old times teaching sort of a schedule, something like that, right? It's going to guide tutelage in arithmetic, reading and writing, and all that sort of stuff based on ontological mathematics, yeah? So this is a big to-do, so we are going to have to redevelop modern physics with ontological mathematics. So we're going to have to completely recast relativity theory and quantum mechanics and redevelop all of that. It's going to be a big task. So yeah, I mean, should we completely deconstruct the prevailing paradigms? Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's informative. So it is good to deconstruct the prevailing paradigms, but you know, and that can take a while. And then after that, we will then rebuild a modern physics based on ontological mathematics, and that is where you're going to get into. So that's where the epiphanies for, oh, I can engineer this, are going to start coming in. And just so you know, for anyone who's listening, I know people. I have people that can do that. I know some people that follow me on my blog, and they are the type of engineer that they just need to be shown how to do it. You know, they might be, you know, nominal materialists, you might call them, but they're otherwise extremely intelligent people and they can run with it and do a lot with it, you know. Now that's a nice idea. We should create hymn books, you know, with lovely music for shared spiritual activity. You know, I go to church sometimes just because my wife is religious, Mormon. Not that I am, I'm not at all. You know, I don't mind going. The people are fairly nice. You know, obviously I don't agree with what they're saying most of the time, although sometimes there's interesting things that they say. But in any case, the hymns are quite nice. It's nice singing them together. It's nice to hear them. You know, it can be classy and it can be refined and it can be, you know, sort of part of high culture. But our hymns will be about merit, about the affirmation of life. You know, most church hymns are about the Savior and how he saved us and how you need to worship that and all that, right? So it's just, the whole, be an obedient slave message, right? Almost every hymn is like, be an obedient slave, right? Anyway, so we're going to have hymns. We should have hymns like, any good musicians out there? Can anybody create quasi-classical music that's just beautiful music to sing? Music is beautiful to sing. It's lovely to sing it together, And it's like, oh, well, it has to be, heavy metal, dark heavy metal, crazy headbanging. It's like, no, most people don't want to do that. Most people actually really like beautiful, uplifting music, except ours isn't going to be about how you're a slave and you need to worship. Ours is going to be about merit and affirming life and discovering your power and the beauty of earth and the beauty of, Gaia's creation here. One thing we should do too is we should bring back the Greco-Roman and Northern European pagan holidays. They have such lovely holidays, and the temples. Their temples were so cool, like temples for Apollo and temples for all these different sort of, mental, psychological concepts. Really, the psychological archetypes is really what their temples do, right? They're just named things, they're given form, right? Mythology, rites of passage. Now, just to be clear, this has nothing. Greco-Roman and Northern European pagan traditions, holidays, philosophies, nothing to do with the repulsive, disgusting, fecal and genital and sex-obsessed emo magic freaks and Crowley Levian losers and all those frickin' retards. Okay, all those fucking moronic retards and all the stupid shit, the profane kisses and all the retarded stuff that they do. No, nothing to do with that. Nothing. That's all. I don't know I know where it comes from. It doesn't come from Earth. It has nothing to do with frickin' planet Earth. It's some frickin' psychotic retards that have come here to just make this place retarded, more retarded. So no, those people can fuck off and get lost. So think more like the Arthurian romances, the ideal of men and women, the ideal masculine, the ideal feminine. Oh yes, how lovely is that, right? Honoring the sun, celebrating beauty, protecting children, right? True self-love and self-advocacy. For example, you never see in nature, with Gaia, Mother Nature being the guide. There are no animals in nature that mate with children before they're sexually mature. That does not happen in nature, right? It doesn't happen in nature where parents would endanger their children or teach their children concepts or modes of behavior activities which would endanger them in the future and make them weak and less meritorious, right? So a lot of this bullshit we have happening in today's world, simply it doesn't exist in nature, and it's anti-natural, and in fact it doesn't even come from Earth. It has nothing to do with Earth. It's here to destroy Earth, right? So honoring nature, and yeah, sure, of course. No, it's not going to be just like in the Christian sense where everything is positive and wonderful and you suppress and forget about having your shadow mind and your dark impulses. No, we are absolutely going to address those, but we're going to sublimate them. It's going to be done in a rational way. No, it's not going to be like these Crowley losers and their profane kisses and their shit eating and all their fucking retarded bullshit. God, what a bunch of fucking morons. No, it's going to be normal, healthy, and refined and classy and high culture, right? Now, just on the point of that, it's kind of funny to note, actually, it's like, well, are you pagan? So you're not monotheist? Well, in fact, ontological mathematics is the ultimate monotheism, so to speak, right? It's the ultimate system of one thing, right? The one thing being, the singularity in ontological mathematics, which of course then, though, has, a dual aspect, the empirical, material aspect, right? In which that one is expressed everywhere. So in Christianity, typically you have the idea of, the pagan gods are being a god of the air. Ooh, that's so evil. No, there's no god of the air. It's just the big God. It's like, no, there can be a god of the air. Why not fucking have there be a god of the air? God would be in all things. Why not? A part of God is the air, governing the movement of the air. Something like, you know what I mean? Just speaking in general terms, right? So there's nothing at all wrong with the idea of spiritual forces that govern operations and cycles in the world, right? No problem. So this is a fun one. So we got things for people to do here, right? People can be musicians. Come up with some great music for us, right? Come up with some wonderful, great music to unite us all together, right? So the Greek tragedy, the plays. Who's a scriptwriter, right? Let's recreate and develop the art of the Greek tragedy. And of course, those were all very mentally healthy. Those helped with that sublimation process of the dark aspects of the mind, so-called dark aspects, just the sort of shadow mind aspects. And then they were life affirming at the same time, right? So sublimating and life affirming, right? So let's redevelop those and see how wonderful those would be. What can we come up with? What can we recreate? And we'll live surrounded by beauty and goodness, not like this stupid, disgusting world where it's all just, box stores and shopping malls. Oh God, right? Concrete and roads and technology, so, I don't mean that we'll commission some beautiful marble statues and then that means we're cultured. I mean, that wouldn't obviously do it. Like, obviously, these things would be born out of the wonderful culture that we are going to create, right? We would have the type of highly cultured people that would then want to put the beauty of the male form, the beauty of the female form. And I mean, the real form, the real beautiful, not this disgusting wokeism, fat positivity bullshit, right? No, the real beautiful form of, the fit, sort of Spartan soldier, for example, with a magnificent body, and then same with the beautiful feminine body with her beautiful curves and just, invitation to joy, right? Like, yeah, so beautiful statues, right? Aspiring architecture, and beautiful land and soil would be all around our area too, right? For wildlife and for plants. We would want a lot of wild area, but we wouldn't just let it be completely wild. We would apply that 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 perfect Dutch and German sort of touch to land to make it just wonderful looking. Just the Dutch and German are so good at that. It just tweaking that land a little. Of course, they can go completely and just completely make that land completely productive and, high intensity farming, but they're also capable of just making land just beautiful and making it productive for the wildlife itself, making it beautiful and productive for the wildlife itself, which of course then we can benefit from, because then if there's good game for hunting and eating and good plants for foraging and eating, wild berries, comes to mind, things like that. So we could just make the land, just so beautiful. It would just be Gaia's nature perfected, right? Okay, what else? So we'll have to organize a whole way of life, basically a culture for our people, like Lycurgus of Sparta did when he created the whole Spartan system for life, their militaristic system of life. Except we're going to have to include everything, right? So studies obviously is important. That means academia, training, our whole education system, fitness and health. Food, the eating of it and production of it, what's the best foods to eat, healthy soil to get all those good micronutrients into the food that we eat to go into our bodies to make us big and strong and healthy. Families, how are we going to handle families and raise families and children and reproduction? And yes, we are going to guide reproduction. Gaia is our guide. Gaia guides reproduction. How does she do it? Well, the females choose. After the men fight it out. It's like, oh, you're going to return to the jungle. Oh, well, and anyone saying that is a freaking retard anyway. So, even if we had to, would that be that bad? No, I would do it. But anyway, we can sublimate. We will obviously sublimate it all and have it all in a healthy, normal process, which we can have a wonderful, happy, and developing and becoming civilization on, right? Within. Wonderful. Okay, so where are we? So I just made a Facebook group called Classical Illuminism. Now, that being said, I hate social media and I don't want to be sucked into it as some major feature of my life. So I made the group. I'm not sure I'll log back in sometime, but go ahead and try and request membership, and maybe in a week or two I'll let you through. Okay. So Classical Illuminism on Facebook. On my blog, climateofsophistry.com, I do pay more attention there, so feel free to just start commenting about things there if you like. It's kind of nice because, there's my YouTube channel too, Ontological Mathematics, and my YouTube Climate of Sophistry channel. On Climate of Sophistry on the blog itself, there's no YouTube comment moderating because YouTube does, heavily moderate and filter their comments, I find. However, I do, monitor and get rid of idiots. Here's a concept. Maybe we just have to do the whole Noah's Ark thing and try this out on a whole new planet, because this planet might be beyond saving at this point, given what's happened to it and who's infiltrated it and destroyed it, basically. So we have, I mean, I'm an astronomer. I can tell you there's trillions upon trillions of planets being formed out there in space. We can certainly move to one if we have to via some means. I would think that that's possible. I mean, that sounds pretty out there, what I'm saying. I can imagine. But anyway, we do the Noah's Ark thing and just sort of help move Gaia somewhere else, and we would try this somewhere else. Okay, so that's the concept. That's the idea. Let me know what you think. And yeah, I guess I'll just talk to you next time. Bye.